Hello and welcome to Stories from the Gateway, the podcast where we go beyond just headlines but talk about the real happenings within Ogun State. I'm your host, Para Ashitelu, and today we're going to be talking about an initiative that really affects multiple people and communities across different economic social backgrounds: housing. Today, we are joined by the Honourable Commissioner for Housing, Jagunmolu Akande Omoniyi. Welcome, sir. We are so happy to have you on the podcast today. How are you doing?
Good day. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, today we're going to get into some of the really exciting initiatives that we have going on in Ogun State today, and we'll unpack a lot of the projects that you have spearheaded over the last coming years. But I guess before we jump straight into those initiatives, it would be good to sort of understand just a little bit about your background, just to let the people of Ogun State understand exactly where you're coming from and what the sort of future plans are for you.
Yeah, thank you. My name once again is Jagunmolu Akande Omoniyi, the Honorable Commissioner for Housing. I'm a trained accountant, but with an in-depth knowledge and background in real estate. Before joining the public service, I was the managing director and chief executive of C2K Holdings, a foremost developer of affordable housing to federal public servants in Abuja and other states of the Federation. I worked severally with Office of Head of Service of the Federation and Federal Government's Housing Loan Board to provide truly affordable houses numbering over 5,000 to civil servants in federal institutions before being called to join the government of Prince Dapo Abiodun in 2019, firstly as a special advisor, housing, and thereafter the Honorable Commissioner for Housing. So that's the storyline.
It's good to know that although your background is in sort of accounting and finance, you do have, from a long time ago, a real interest in providing not only homes, but affordable homes for people within Ogun State. Yeah. So that's also very good to know. You mentioned there, and I've seen, on the news and online, that the government's initiative to provide over 10,000 housing units by the end of 2027. And I think so far there's been about, 5,000 units been achieved. Correct. So far. Within that sort of 5,000 number, what is the ratio and how do you foresee this being able to accommodate people from low to middle income housing?
Well, before we came on board in 2019, one of the first things that we did was to do an overall and holistic review of the housing policy and the need assessment of the people of Ogun State. And in that analysis and that report, we realized that about 90% of the people of Ogun State needs the low-income houses. And so far, we've done over 5,000, and about 90% of that targets the low-income bracket, while also providing for the middle and the high end.
Okay, so when we kind of just dive a little bit deeper into those numbers, you mentioned that from the survey that was conducted, over 90% of people within Ogun State require low-income housing. Yeah. Is that number, so with the target of 10,000 and 5,000 being, done at the moment, is that number enough? Is there plans for expanding that? What is the sort of trajectory going forward to actually being able to accommodate that 90% number that you speak of?
Truly, the 10,000 mark, which we project to have been done within the 2 terms of this administration, is just a scratch in the surface, considering the fact that we have over 100,000 housing gap with a population of over 4 million people. However, we believe that what is important is for us to start from somewhere and be able to have the background and the vision that supports future growth. And that's what we have done. Successive administration in the past have not built, say, 20% of what we have done in 8 years. And that shows that we have put something on ground that gives the basics for future administration to rely on, to build on. The global market in Ogun State is big now. The economy is open up. We have one of the fastest growing economy in Nigeria. Ogun State now, we know Ogun State as the gateway state to Nigeria, the whole of Nigeria. We are the fastest growing economy. We have the highest GDP. We have the comparative advantage of what other states don't have, we are the only neighbor that Lagos State has. And that shows that the market is there in Ogun State. And that is what we are able to put in place. Today, the price of our houses ranks pari passu with what you have in Lagos State. And that's what we have created, the value that the PD administration has created within the last 6 years plus. And we believe that any new government coming in after us, we have something to work on, and they can also back on a sustainable level that we have put Ogun State housing sector into.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I think it's important that you highlight that perhaps previous administrations may not have actually achieved what you guys have done so far, especially
not even near, not about 20%.
Not even 20%, as you say.
Yeah.
And I think what's important, especially for people in Ogun State, is to understand that the current government has essentially laid the groundwork for what the future should look like. So we're not just looking at, at the moment right now, we're in government now, let's just work on ourselves. You're actually forward thinking to make sure that the groundwork is actually laid for future administrations. And that's quite interesting. I guess moving on to something that is quite interesting, and I mean, a lot of people have a question over why it is, but it's interesting to understand exactly what the Yellow Roof Initiative truly is. You mentioned, of course, that the current administration has sort of laid the groundwork, and I've seen that the Yellow Roof is almost a symbol as to be able to pinpoint exactly what has been done. Walk us through exactly what the Yellow Roof Revolution actually is, and what does it actually symbolize?
Okay, the Yellow Revolution is all about creativity, uniqueness, creating an identity. Aside the fact that we want to give people of Ogun State a place where they can actually live, work, and play. Like I said, when we came on board, we did a survey that shows what we need to do and how do we want it. However, doing that alone without considering the people and the aftermath effect is not enough. So we blended the needs assessment with what is realistic on ground, and we also needed to be sustainable in terms of being eco-friendly. Put all this together, we also decided, yes, we should create something that stands us out. For generations to come, they will continue to see the Yellow Roof as an innovation of Prince Dapo Abiodun-led administration in Ogun State.
So it's, I guess, the yellow roofs are not just for an aesthetic purpose.
Yeah.
They're actually a symbol of actually being intentional and really taking into account exactly what's needed on the ground, but also, as you said, creativity, because that is obviously something that we can't. It's something that we can't actually ignore, especially when it comes to the great state of Ogun. Let's talk about some of the actual facts. For the current Yellow Roof Revolution, as you mentioned, are there any sort of solid stories that you've heard of, or anything specific that you can say, this is the impact that the Yellow Roof Revolution has actually had on the people of Ogun State?
These testimonies abound everywhere. Every sector of Ogun State have positive stories to talk about the Yellow Roof Revolution. For instance, last week Thursday or thereabout, the Alaki of Egbaland was on air, complimenting the effort of Prince Dapo Abiodun administration in terms of housing. And he said, this government has built houses that far outnumbers what the previous administrations put together have done. That is a testimony. Nigerians that live abroad in diaspora, they now come to Ogun State and have a place where they can live. Instead of going to hotels, running back to Lagos, whatever they look for in diaspora, they have it in Ogun State today. And in fact, Ogun State housing provides peace of mind for them. And the menace of Omonile, land grabbers and so on, is totally eradicated. Because be you in the low, medium, or high income level, you have a place you can call your own in Ogun State. We have ready-made schemes that you can tap into, buy into it, and live happily. Mind you, Ogun State is opening up its economy. And today, we have one of the best agro-cargo airports in Nigeria. You can fly in and out of Ogun State today. You can hop on the train and live in Ogun State, hop on the train, and within 1 hour or thereabout, you find yourself in Marina. And that is because we were intentional. We want people to actually see Ogun State as the gateway state. You walk anywhere, you walk in Ibadan, you walk anywhere, you can jump on the train, jump on your car, and be accessible to any part of Nigeria. You want to go and transact business in Lagos, whatever, you have a place in Ogun State. And that is the intentionality of a housing policy. Because you can't just open up economy without you having a place where people can actually live. And aside that, the global pandemic of 2020, COVID, really opened up our eyes to things.
Yeah.
Because the only way we can find succor is where to put your head on. So we realize all this and realize that for us to truly open up our economy, for us to invite people to come and live in Ogun State, we must provide shelter.
Do you have any sort of real life stories of people on the ground where you can say this is the impact that the Yellow Roof Revolution has had on ordinary people of Ogun State?
Thank you. And now we'll start by telling you stories from the last person within the value chain to the last end user. For any housing project that you put on ground that is truly targeted to the people, you have the local supply of raw materials. You have the builders, the roofers, the painters, and so on. Not to talk of the person that actually buys these houses at the end of the day. And I give instances of the Kobakwe housing scheme. In Kobakwe housing scheme, where we have over about 1,000 affordable housing units there now, and people are actually... Before now, Kobakwe was a relatively unknown village. It's only when you go from Shagamu to Abeokuta that you know a village exists. But today, we have put that village on a global map. Plot of land that was about 100,000 there initially in 2019 before we started the housing scheme now goes for about 1.5 to 2 million. And that is because the economic value of that place has gone up. Two, you also look at the welders that work with us there. Someone who never saw a turnover of 100,000 naira in a month now gets a turnover of about 5 million, 10 million naira. And through that, he's able to provide means of sustainability for his people, builds his own house, and so on. You get a mama put that never saw a turnover of about 10,000 naira in a day. Now we're able to service over 300 people working on site. And they eat, and the person gets paid, and the business continues to boom. Then you go to a bricklayer that works on this site. A bricklayer has a wife, maybe 2 children, a father and mother. So within that system, one person that works on site have about 4 dependents on him or her. So this person gets about 7,500 naira a day. And mind you, we have over 300 of them working on site at any particular day. So you could imagine the cash flow that runs within that system. So this guy gets his daily wages and is able to provide means of sustainability for his people and send his children to school. And so the issue of even security menace or social vices is reduced. Then you now go to someone who is battled every day with having to cope with high rent increase, moving from one place to another, okay? And the person now gets allocated for a housing unit within the estate. You can imagine the satisfaction, the joy, the burden that has been taken away. The first day that person and the family sleeps in their house, you could imagine the satisfaction and the happiness that runs within the family. And the burden of high rent is taken off. You only need to cope with monthly mortgage repayment that is taken as free from their salary. So if you look at all of this, you see that this housing scheme that we put on ground has actually impacted people, their lives, their means of sustainability, their daily work, because someone who lives his home happy will definitely be more productive when he or she gets to work. So if you put all this together, you see that our houses that we built over the years have actually impacted people, give them better living, make them more happy, make them more productive, and even live longer. Because someone who's happy, who has less to worry about, definitely have better health, all things being equal, and lives happily. So that's the success story so far.
No, well, that's definitely an amazing success story, and I'm glad that you touched on multiple different touch points, particularly across the value chain. Is that you're looking at the actual building of the properties and the jobs that is given to people, the impact that that's having on ordinary people's lives. Then you're moving into the people who can actually now afford to live in these houses, the impact that that's having on their lives, and that's the kind of impacts that I think is important to see. We see a lot of the time that there's so many different housing initiatives, so many different, real estate companies that are coming in and building luxury apartments, which is great. But a lot of the time we sometimes forget that there are people who have, low to medium incomes who also need housing to a certain standard. Yeah. Now, when we look at the standards of what you're building at the moment, what are the sort of particular, design features, or what really makes it a yellow roof sort of revolution per se?
Thank you. You see, one of the unique features of our housing scheme is that we have inculcated what we call the incremental design into our houses, and we're proud that we are about the first state to implement that, introduce that into Nigerian real estate market. What I mean by incremental is that we started with a 1-bedroom expandable unit and 2-bedroom expandable units, so that the 1-bedroom, as the family grows, as the economic value of that family grows, they can increase, they have space to build additional 1-bedroom. And same way, 2-bedroom, as the family sizes increases, they can do the 3rd bedroom and finish it to their taste. That is incremental. Because why do you have to take the pain to buy a 2-bedroom now when your family and income cannot carry it? So you have to be scientific about it. Again, we also deliver our houses in carcass form. What we mean that is that within the estate, we would have provided all the basic infrastructures within the estate. The road infrastructure, the drainage, the electrification, the water, the security apparatus. We would have put in place the clinics, shopping mall, estate office, playground, and so on. We would have provided that in the estate. So the houses we're giving to you will be finished externally. So you go in and finish the interior the way you like. The sense that brings to us is this: if you go ahead to do the type of POP ceiling or PVC ceiling, or you just do the screeding on the floor and things like that, Mr. A can come in and say, no, I want better finishing, roof finishing. I want marble on my floor. I want this, I want that. So if we had gone ahead to put these finishes, what does it mean? It means it's a waste. A waste that would have been included in the cost of the overall, whatever he has paid. So we leave that to your choice, to your affordability. So you finish it according to your pocket, according to your taste, knowing fully well that individual taste differs. So these are the design concepts that the affordability, the expandability of these houses, aside the fact that you go in and finish to yours. So if you put all this together, it gives us the better edge for our customers. And Ogun State has been the only one that has provided and put this in our designs. And that's why we keep winning this award for the best state in terms of providing affordable housing. We've won it about 4 times back to back. And today, we're even tired of taking this award because we want others to also have a taste of it. But nobody has been able to beat us because we have unbeatable model, we have unbeatable price mechanism that I'll still talk about.
When you talk about the pricing of housing, I mean, what are we looking at? When you say it's comparable, when you look at Lagos and other neighboring states, when we look at actual pricing, what are we looking at here?
Okay, great. You see, let me take you through the rudiments. For you to determine your price template, you have to put in the cost of land, the cost of providing the houses, the cost of infrastructure, and your overhead. All right. So for the cost of land in Ogun State, it is fully subsidized by the state government. So it comes at a nil cost. That's number one. Number two, the cost of our building is cost of material, cost of labor from beginning foundation to the roof to finishing. Okay, we're able to source our labor from within the locality of where we site this estate. So it's sort of reduced and bargained. Aside that, we employ direct labor artisans. We would have removed the middlemen who wants to make profit from these houses. So the profit margin of, I say, 2 million naira or 3 million that Mr. A contractor wants to make, the government would have removed that. So we deal with direct labor, bricklayers, carpenters, painters, electricians, plumbers, that are actually the one doing this work. With a little margin, we bring them on board. So that again would have removed a lot. Okay? Now, Ogun State as the economic hub, the industrial hub of Nigeria, we have the majority of companies, manufacturers that manufactures building materials in Ogun State. I'm not marketing. We have Lafarge, we have Dangote in Ogun State. The aluminum roofing companies, we have them. The Towa, all of them, we have them in our industrial scheme. So we tap into that comparative advantage to negotiate rock bottom prices that even the distributors cannot even get outside. Okay? Now, so when we started, the cost of cement in 2019, 2020 was just about 1,850 naira per bag. Today, it goes for about 11,000 naira. The cost of roofing sheet was about 1,950 per linear meter in 2019, 2020. Today, it's about 8,580. So if you put all this, a gallon of paint was about 400 naira then. Today, maybe it's about 3,500, 3,900 naira. So if you look at all this, but coupled with the fluctuation in the dollars or whatever that the federal naira has witnessed in the last 7 years or thereabout, okay, you understand that position that the houses that we started selling from 4,950,000 naira to civil servants and 5.5 million naira to the public in 2020 now goes for an average of 17.5 million naira because of those variances. Comparing the cost of our houses and what is offered to the open market, you will see that even the private sector cannot beat us because we have removed so many profit elements, so many middlemen who would have profited hugely from these houses, and which would have made an extra pain to the cost to be borne by the would-be allottees at the end of the day. If you compare the price of our houses in Kobakpe and Kenta, Idiaba, in Abeokuta, in 2020, if you compare that with what is obtainable today, and even what the public sells, the private developer sells, you will see that those houses that we sold for 4.950 and 5.5 million in 2020, which we now sell for about 17.5 million today because of the fluctuations in the price of building materials. You will see that private developers sell these houses for about 25 to 30 million. And that is because we have taken away the middlemen that would have made so much profit from these houses. We have gone directly by employing direct labor artisans. We have gone directly by looking inward to source our building materials. And the aim is to make sure that these houses are sold at the rock bottom prices, taking advantage of the subsidy that government provides and the comparative advantage of the companies and the locals that provide these direct services to make sure that the cost and the overall delivery of our prices is reduced to the barest minimum.
Let's kind of unpack exactly what is the criteria when you are picking locations to actually build houses. What is the checklist that you have to go through to say, we will use this site, we won't use this site? What is that criteria that you go through?
Thank you. Initially, I said the houses being sold by the state government are not for profit making. So we look as much as possible to site our houses, taking into account the viability of those houses, coupled with the expression of interest and demand. We don't just site our estates at locations because we want political patronage, because we don't want to sell houses, we don't want to build houses that will be left unsold and will now become a burden for next coming administration. or not to offload, just like we did for the house set of houses sold built by the previous administration. So to us, viability is very important. The expression of interest is also very, very important. Aside the fact that they must be near to source of primary infrastructure.
Exactly.
The government is opening up so many areas, providing roads and electrification to these areas. So we try as much as possible to make sure that the primary feeders into these estates are already provided. So we only do the one that borders or within the estate, and that's another way of reducing our cost. So if we take advantage of all these all these parameters, our houses are not even enough. It's fully sold because we provided what the people want where they want it.
It's interesting to hear, your response on that, but I think a lot of the news that we've been hearing at the moment is that, of course, it's not just a sort of regeneration of houses. There's also a lot of work being done in sort of redeveloping GRAs. Tell us a little bit more about that and what's really going into that project itself.
Okay. The holistic review of our housing policy in Ogun State is not just tailored towards creation of new cities, but we also upgrade existing cities. And that takes me to the GRA regeneration scheme, where we decided to uplift the urban living of existing GRAs. At the creation of Western Nigeria back in those days, we had the Bodija, the Agoku GRAs, just like we have our own Ibara GRA in Abeokuta, just like Ikeja GRA, created by the Wema board of those days. So we realized that of all these GRAs in Western Nigeria, Ibara GRA is the only one that is lacking behind in terms of provision of affordable and truly what a GRA should look like. The Ibara GRA was created in 1976 at the creation of Ogun State. We just celebrated Ogun at 50. And we could imagine if those houses built for 50 years ago were still standing. So we thought that these houses, which have become derelicts, moribund, falling, no longer habitable, should be upgraded into urban cities. So we've brought those buildings down, and today we have duplexes, smart cities that you can talk of anywhere. We've created a new, say, Banana Island in Abeokuta. And the prices today, the cost of land, that was about, say, 5 million, 3 million back then, about 2 years ago, before we started this wonderful initiative of Urban GRA. The plot of land now goes for about 120, 150 million naira. In fact, most people come from Lagos and say, how do I explain it that the same price I will get land in Ikeja GRA is the same price I will get in Abeokuta? And that is because we have been intentional about our housing policy. We knew what we were driving out. We wanted to give life back to these people. And today, the people of Abeokuta, the people that had their houses in Ibara within the Ibara GRA, is now, they are even the one marketing us that yes, we have done beautifully well. And the stories abound everywhere because we have brought functionality into this area. The infrastructures have been upgraded. You have new set of road drainages, all the street lights now in place. You no longer have wires flying around or whatever. You will now have them on the ground. And new set of houses with another yellow roof. Just go online and see what Ogun State has offered in terms of this Ibara GRA. And we believe that from what we have done, the future generations will continue to clap for Prince Dapo Abiodun for this wonderful initiative. Thank you.
So just following on from the GRA projects as well, is the PMB estate project also being sort of plugged into this as well? Is there any initiatives being pushed or resources being pushed to activating that again?
Yeah, that's an interesting part of our success story. The PMB estate was a 50-hectare parcel of land, a mark for luxury living, by the previous administration. But the only thing they had then was just the road infrastructure and just one building standing. Was abandoned for so many years. Even the developer was in court until we came in and we settled that out of court. However, the good thing about it is that that abandoned estate, that abandoned location that only had one house standing, today has over 100 detached and semi-detached duplexes that is now selling fast like anything. And that is because the government of President Abiodun believes that anything that has Ogun State wealth, money, which is our common patrimony, we should not, as a matter of fact, abandon it. We saw the potential in it, even though the previous administration didn't complete that. But we have today brought life into that location. And today, that estate is alive with state-of-the-art facilities, improved infrastructure, and already laid out in clusters. We have 100 duplexes standing, fully developed, and being sold as we speak. And as a matter of fact, you see us inviting the number one citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to come and commission that test. I leave that to the governor to decide and the people of Ogun State. But it's a world-class environment, luxury living that is comparable to anywhere in the whole of Nigeria. And that is one of the magic, the wonders of this government led by the Abiodun, of its intentional involvement in housing so far.
What are the steps put in place at the moment to ensure that a certain level of maintenance is upheld across the housing sector to make sure that Ogun State is not going backwards to go forwards, but we're constantly going forward?
Thank you. Very soon we are coming up with a regulation that will be passed at the House of Assembly that's set to address the challenge of maintenance, lack of maintenance. In Nigeria, in the whole of Africa, we build good houses. But do we have the maintenance culture? The answer is no. Until we, as a government, enforce it and we impress it on people to also enforce it, is for their own betterment. So, for us in Ogun State, what we do is mostly when we do estates of this nature, the ultimate owners of these houses are the buyers, the allottees of this scheme. So, what we do is to maintain these houses for a period of say 1 year, and within that 1 year, we urge the resident to form the maintenance team that works with us, and thereafter they can take it up. But we would have given them all the do's and the don'ts. We teach them how to go about this. Because facility management is so broad. You need to talk of who maintains the sewage, who maintains the drainages, who sweeps, who does the lighting and things like that. So many things goes under it. So we manage for a while and encourage the resident association, because the houses belong to them at the end of the day. So at a point we exit and allow them to run the show themselves. But before then, we would have put them through how it is done. And that is the global practice. Otherwise, there will be chaos. Because nobody wants to continue to pay to an external facility manager when they don't. So we have to be democratic about it. And that's exactly what we do. They own their houses, they own the system, and they manage their facilities. And we only provide a guide, because as the developer, we know the nitty-gritty, where the borehole, the service line, and things like that, where it runs within the system. So we only guide them. If they need any assistance, any service, we readily provide for them. But the maintenance after 1 year is entirely the responsibility of the residents.
Okay. And I guess following on from maintenance, if we look at the environmental aspect of it as well, because I guess they're sort of interlinked in a way, with, lots of buildings coming up, with, concrete structures now coming up, and it's great for neighborhoods, it's great for maintenance, but are we also considering the environmental impact that might have with trapped heat, with, buildings coming up and blocking, shade coming through? Do you work with the Ministry for Environment as well to make sure that people don't develop health issues down the line based off of these amazing structures that are being put in place, but we're being proactive about that?
Well, everything that we do in Ogun State under this government of President Abiodun is we collaborate a lot. Like, for instance, before you can start building houses, you must get clearance. You must be allocated the land from Bureau of Land and Survey. That land must be approved, the layout, whatever, the drawings must be approved by physical planning. So we build. the Ministry of Justice and Lands, they do the titling, while the Ministry of Environment take charge of the maintenance of this of these houses and this estate. So it's a collaborative thing, and everyone has got their role to play, because at the end of the day, we are all responsible to the people of Ogun State.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, well, there is definitely a lot of success, and I can see that these projects are moving in an amazing direction, and that is fantastic. But I'm sure that there have been challenges. I mean, with anything that happens in Nigeria, we always know that there will be constraints. What specific challenges have you faced, really, and how are you guys overcoming that to ensure that there's longevity?
Well, the first challenge is the political will, and to the glory of God, my governor, Prince Dr. Abiodun, has provided that platform for us to excel. So the political will is there for us and gives us the backing to embark on this marvelous housing scheme. Then you know to talk of the land challenges. Much as you try to do good things, there are people who wants to act as bottleneck. So even on government land, they start building, they start encroaching. However, we're able to summon that through stakeholders engagement, because we move into the land to start clearing. Yes, there will be challenges of people doing this here and there. However, we believe that our engagement with the relevant stakeholders like the obas, the ballers, the unions, market women, all of them, by the time we wrap everything together and we discuss and we engage them, would have surmounted all this problem, and all the problem would have been cleared. Then again, we also need to understand the fact that whatever we do in their locality, this 100% of the labor is sourced from that locality. So they just need to see the global picture of this scheme. And it abounds everywhere, be it housing, be it agriculture. Anything you want to do, if you don't carry the people along and if you don't see the sense of belonging in it, they will surely revolt. But we are lucky that we have a very sensitive people, set of sensitive people in Ogun State. We have a very sensitive government, and we're able to surmount all this problem and realize the fact that if you start an estate in your locality, it's to the advantage of that place, and the name, the value, the economic value of that place will never remain the same again. Once they know all this, yes, they give the clearance, and today we are happy that everything we've worked together so well, and people are happy for everything that we have done in terms of affordable housing in Ogun State.
Well, thank you so much for that, Commissioner. And I think it's amazing to see that there is a level of collaboration there and intentionality. When we talk about the accessibility of these houses, how do we ensure that it actually trickles down to the different levels of people within society? Of course, with initiatives like this, you're always going to have people who want to take advantage and sort of take opportunities that are actually specifically sort of destined for people in certain social economic backgrounds. So how are you ensuring that certain people at every part of that chain have access and an opportunity to take advantage of these housing?
All right, thank you. All our houses, we ensure that nobody sabotage the system, because we truly want people who deserve these houses, who wants to live there, not those who want to do racketeering with it or speculation with it to get the houses. And how do we do this? We do a lot of profiling. One, if you have bought any of our housing scheme, or any of your family has bought anyone since beginning of this administration, since we started, or even previous administration, you no longer qualify to get one. So it's one family, one home. Two, if you allocate these houses to you, within 6 months, you must start living in these houses, otherwise you stand the risk of revocation. So we also try as much as possible to ensure that you must go through mortgage options for you to buy these houses. And that is because we want those that really want this, want the low income. You must be about 65 or 75% of those allottees must be civil servant, because these are the end users that really want these houses, and not those that just want to sell after a while. So if you put all these options in place, you will see that it's only those that truly want to live there that buy these houses. Also, not also forgetting the fact that mortgage option is possible, but again, you can also collaborate with you and your wife. So even if your income is not enough, the two of you can pool your resources together and take mortgage options through Gateway Mortgage Bank. So if you put all this together, we ensure that those that truly need the houses are the ones that get the houses without. Meanwhile, we don't entertain politicians to buy these houses because we know ourselves. They will not want to live there. Majority of them will just want to racketeer. So we try to eliminate political office holders or politician-based people. So we'll try as much as possible not to entertain their requests.
Okay. Well, I like the fact that there is specific criteria and there's a lot of intention being put on ensuring that there is no gaming the system. No. There is a particular category of people who have access to these housing, and also as well as important that you've also acknowledged that this is not a project for sort of government officials to be able to sort of take advantage of an opportunity and leaving sort of less, sort of privileged people the access that they do have. Looking beyond the Yellow Roof project, obviously we're looking at a target of about 10,000 homes by the end of 2027. So far, there's about 5,000 being built, and that's a great achievement. But if we're looking ahead, how are we looking at ensuring that this is sustainable beyond just 10,000 houses? You mentioned at the beginning, you did a survey, and there's about 90% of people in need of this level of housing. Yeah. So what are the future plans beyond that, and how are we going to achieve that?
Well, for every sustainable project, every sustainable program or policy, the most important thing is for you to have a solid foundation. And that is what we are able to put in place. Today, the problem is not how to sell, but how to meet the demand of those that have shown expression of interest. So if you put this together, you should ensure that successive administrations for the next 10 years, they have the background to work on as far as housing is concerned in Ogun State. Because once the market is there, the economy is opening up, the purchasing power of the people is increasing, and money flows. People can buy houses irrespective of the number that is turned in. Mm-hmm. And so for us, we believe that the future outlook is bright because it's for now is on autopilot. The market is there already, and there's nothing stopping the global market from booming.
Well, I think you said it best there. I think Ogun State currently has a golden opportunity to really be a benchmark as to how things are done and really laying those foundations as to what housing should look like now, but also in the future. So we have touched on multiple projects, and we have said that currently this administration has made leaps and bounds that the previous administration has not made. In your words, what would you say are the facts and figures that proves that this administration is making the impacts that you say?
Thank you. With provision of over 5,000 affordable housing units since 2019 to date, which more than doubles what the previous administration put together have done in Ogun State, it shows that we're clearly on edge, far more than every other state, comparatively what they have done so far. Again, with a combined budget of about 200 billion in 2026 budget for the housing sector, with a projection of employment of nothing less than another 5,000 direct labor artisans, injecting nothing less than about, say, 500 billion into the local economy in terms of engagement of direct labor and other supplies through the value chain. It is on ground that no government can surpass this government within the next 10 years. What we have done together, no government, we believe, both previous and the incoming, can beat what we have done as of today. Talking of free facts and figures, this government of President Abiodun has built over 5,000 affordable houses from 2019 to date. As of today, we're on different rural sites. We are presently at Shiun, we're in Kobakwetu, we are doing phase 2 Ilaro, we are doing phase 2 of the Gateway Aviation Village at Ikperu. All this put together will give us nothing less than another 4,000 affordable housing and other classes of houses before the end of this administration. And that's going towards the 10,000 mark. And I tell you categorically that no government put together since creation of Ogun State has been able to do 20% of what we have done. And it will take the next two governments to surpass what we have done. And I'm saying this emphatically, that what we have put on ground is we put housing in autopilot mode going forward. And that is because we have opened up the economy, but I'm able to realize that when we talk about housing, you can be intentional, you can be direct about it, and that's what Prince Dr. Dr. Administration have put together in Ogun State. Emphatically, I say again, our housing is top-notch. We deliver according to promise, we deliver on target, and they are truly affordable to the people of Ogun State. Aside that, we have also energized the Great Mortgage Bank, which is owned by Ogun State, to provide low and long-term mortgages to people that really want to buy these houses. This is the promise that we have made to people of Ogun State, and this is what we are delivering. And up to the last day that this administration will be in office, to May 29, 2027, we will do just that and providing truly affordable housing for the people of Ogun State, where they want it, in the manner they want it, and how they want it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, sir. That is definitely very, very bold statements. But I think it will be interesting to see, as you said, beyond what is currently being done. It will be interesting to see what the future of housing looks like in Ogun State. Yeah. As we've said, that Ogun State is currently at a golden opportunity, and you are laying the foundations, as you said, for previous administrations looking in, but also the incoming administration to look at what's actually been laid out on the ground. Yeah. So I'm quite excited to actually see how this sort of moves forward, and I guess what we can achieve within housing.
The future looks brighter.
Indeed it does.
It looks brighter.
Well, thank you so much for coming, Commissioner. We have really unpacked a lot of the initiatives that are going on within housing at the moment. I think there has been some clarity, specifically around numbers, about exactly how many houses are being built, what the future looks like, who actually has access to this type of housing, and the collaborative approach that you do have with the local industries within Ogun State. So that is, I guess, reassuring to hear on one side, but also it's very interesting to see what will the future look like for Ogun State. So I'm glad to have you on the podcast today. I'm glad that you've been quite candid with us and being able to give us those numbers and figures. So thank you again, Commissioner. We really do appreciate having you.
Thank you. It's been nice talking to you for the past few hours, talking about the stories from the Gateway and the housing perspective. I'm sure we're able to enlighten our people from where we were, from where we're coming from, where we are today, and the future outlook for the housing sector. Like I said, it can only get better, and I'm happy that so far so good. We've delivered on our mandate, and the people of Ogun State are happy with what we have done, coupled with a lot of compliments and acknowledgements that abound, and the success story that abounds on the social media. I just implore you, when next you fly out of Lagos, or you're flying to Lagos, look down when you're about landing at Lagos Airport or at the Peru Airport, and look at the beautiful landscape adorned by the yellow roof that's littered everywhere. Thank you.
Well, we've heard it here today, guys. Thank you so much for listening in to Stories from the Gateway. We have unlocked some of the most interesting projects happening in housing in Ogun State today. We've heard directly from the Commissioner about job creation, about affordability, about collaboration, and ensuring that people have full access to affordable housing across the state. We've touched on maintenance, and we've talked on intentionality. These are the stories that make the great state of Ogun something to be proud of. To our listeners, thank you again for tuning in to Stories from the Gateway. We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. And if you have, please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm your host, reminding you that all great stories begin at the Gateway.